I'm new to sewing, but I just figured out something when I'm making my boxy bags that might help you out as well with the corners. So I do French seams when I make the corners of my boxy bags. And what I was doing, once I got to this step, I was cutting out the squares out of the corners first, and then flipping it and holding them together. And I'm gonna show you the difference of the two. But instead of cutting these out right now, I'm actually gonna flip this inside out, and then I'm going to sew the corner before I cut it. I'm gonna show you the difference. I've actually got two here to show you. So I'm gonna show you one where I cut the corners first and one where I sew the corners before they're cut. And this is just a 2" by 2" square that I'm cutting out of this. Okay, I'm gonna cut all 4 corners. I'll be right back. One has the corners cut out already and one does not. I'm gonna flip them both inside out. Okay, so I've got them both turned inside out. One tip that'll help you with this is use like a chopstick or something to poke your corners out and make sure the lining is all up into the corners. Okay, now for the ones I've cut the corners out, this is what I used to do, and I was struggling with it. I would pull this together, pull your corners together on this side and clip these and then sew along this edge. Well, what I was having trouble with was getting the liner to actually catch in the sewing. The liner is kind of stuck down in there. And then when I flipped it, the liner wasn't in the sewn part and I was losing it in there and it was looking ratty. Like kind of hard to play with and hard to get to match up. Even if I sewed right there, I would lose my liner because it's deeper in there. Instead of doing that, I take each corner and I open the bag up like this and I flatten out this, and you make sure your liner is in there, and it should be. I flatten it out like this and make sure this line is going straight down this triangle, and then I'm gonna sew a line right across here. So I actually put a piece of washi tape right here just to be a little bit of a guide, so that I put my point on the washi tape line, and then I'm gonna sew right across this right here. You don't have to. Now, you see that? Now that I've created this corner right here, I'm gonna go ahead and clip this off. And you wanna clip it pretty close to your stitch line, but just don't clip your stitches. Just like that, okay? So now I'm exactly where I would be if I sewed the original one, but I'm chancing the lining not catching in that seam line, and then your inside is ruined. So from here, you're gonna do all 4 of your corners. I'll show you real quick. Again, I'm going to press my bag this way into a V, and then I'm gonna put it right up along my washi tape guide. Take it out, and I'm gonna cut real close to that line. That guarantees that my liner is in that stitch as well. All right, so now I've got all 4 of my corners stitched up. So they're boxed out now, but I wanna hide this raw edge. So what I'm gonna do is a French seam. I'm gonna flip the bag inside out, poke your little corners out. Just gonna take each line and sew right like a 1/4 inch above it, or maybe even a 1/2 inch. You just wanna make sure that that raw edge is hidden inside the seam. So I'm gonna stitch just along this line right here. Remember to stitch lock in. Okay. Now you see that? Now my raw edge is locked in this seam right here. So when I flip it back out, here is that corner that we boxed out right here. And now you can't see anything, and it also adds structure to the bag. Let me do all 4 and I'll show you. All right, I'm flipping the bag back out, inside out, or right side out. Push your corners out just to make everything look nice. Clip your little thread tails, and your bag is done. And now you don't have to worry about having lining that missed its seam in here, and that French seam gives the bag a little bit more structure. Here are the corners, and they look so nice. So here's an example of when I cut my corners out first and then I try to sew. Sometimes you miss your seam with the liner and it pokes through, and that's gonna be seen in your final product. So that's why I like to sew down my corners first and then cut them, because you're guaranteed that liner gets tucked in there. I hope that makes sense. I'm still very new to sewing. I've only been sewing since January, but I've been inspired to learn, and I absolutely love it. And I've been making boxy bags and duffel bags and all kinds of stuff. So let me know if you have any other questions. I plan to put out some patterns pretty soon. Okay, bye.